going to run out of time. And just a public service announcement. We mentioned it a minute ago, but we do have our solar eclipse going on while we're in this meeting. If any of you go outside, just remember not to look at the sun unless you have good eye protection, right? So, all right. So for our agenda for today, we have a bunch of CCL leaders on the call here who will be going through various topics I'm presenting. Judith mentioned to me that she has to leave early, so I'm going to rearrange the order here a little bit, and we'll allow Judith to cover her topics first so she can finish up and then take off and do what she needs to do. But following the order that we have here in the agenda, Dory is going to present just to provide a review of our CCL basic climate advocacy. Mark is going to talk about the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, which is our key bill in the Congress that we always like to act on and build support for that. This was just recently introduced this month, I believe it was, as HR 5744. Mark is also going to talk about the upcoming mayoral race in Houston and some climate positions from some of the mayoral candidates. Judith will talk about a Texas state proposition, Proposition 7, that's coming up in the election this year. I'm going to talk about a new CCL project called the School Electrification Project, which is really exciting. And then Judith and Ginny will talk together about the recent Third Coast Regional Conference, which just happened this past weekend in New Orleans. And then we'll go through our miscellaneous topics. So very quickly, for those in the room and even those online, we have a QR code if you want to scan that with your phone, and we have a web link. And the purpose for this information here is that we have lots of links throughout our slide deck. And if you ever want to refer back to them later, you'll need the QR code or the web link. And I'm going to put that web link in the chat. Let me just put it in there now so everybody has that. Okay, so I put it in there. And let me continue on. So Judith, I'm going to go down to your slide. Here it is. Judith, feel free to go ahead.
So I wanted to, we talked briefly about Proposition 7 last time, and I agreed to report back. The ballot wording on the proposition is proposing a constitutional amendment providing for the creation of the Texas Energy Fund to support the construction, maintenance, modernization, and operation of the electric generating facilities. None of that says anything about natural gas, and with the grid situation in Texas, there is no reason why anyone would think to vote no for that. But the actual, what that proposition actually approves is to provide billions of dollars in low interest loans to support development of new natural gas plants. It's basically asking taxpayers to subsidize new gas power plants. This really worried me. So when Chris Tomlinson did his Third Coast Cocktails and Conversations, I asked him about it. And my worries were less after he said that the big generators like NRG aren't really interested in loans. They're more interested in increasing the market price for natural gas, and taking loans to build more plants is not going to do that. So he thinks that there's very little risk that anyone would take advantage of the program. Even so, you should vote no on the proposition, because we don't want to vote for, we don't want to say yet. There's no reason to say yes to more natural gas. And you should make a reasonable effort to tell your friends to vote no. And our efforts should be focused on renewable energy and batteries, and especially increased transmission for all types of electricity across the grid. Does anybody have anything to add or have any questions?
Judith, I have a quick question. What is the date of the election coming up this year for this?
Early voting starts October 23rd, and the first Tuesday in November is the 7th.
And I noticed there's actually a lot of other propositions that are on the ballot that everybody needs to read through and become knowledgeable on those.
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
this is Dory. The League of Women Voters has a handout to help with that review process. And also, I was saddened to see the editorial in the Chronicle where they say, hold your nose, but vote yes on ballot Proposition 7. That was disheartening.
Yeah, I'm guessing that because of the way that it's worded, that one line description, most people will think that it's something good for us, and I'm assuming that it'll be voted in and approved. But it's really good to have your analysis of this, Judith, and it's very helpful.
There's a lot of people that helped me with it.
Okay, any other questions for Judith? Okay, I'm going to go down now to the next one. I'm skipping over. Summary of the Third Coast Regional Conference, Judith and Ginny.
Yeah, John Glover was also there. I don't know if he'll have anything to add. I just put down some stuff about some of my favorite things. There were 2 keynotes. Jessica Dandridge from the Water Collaborative. Her big theme was that our core work should really be building community. She was very inspirational. I loved Devontae Lewis. He was elected to the Louisiana Public Service Commission, which is equivalent to the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission in Texas, is an elected position. And he ran without any support from the fossil fuel industry and won, and is pushing renewables in a district that's very fossil fuel oriented.
Wonderful.
Yeah. He gave me a lot of hope for if political will can go the right way. He was a fun. I really enjoyed a guy named Elliot Washington from Prairie View A&M and a guy named Malcolm Vidrine from Louisiana State in Eunice. Talked about sustainable forestry, African American land retention, biodiversity loss, and prairie restoration. They were both very passionate about their issues, and it was a lot of fun. I was inspired by the youth members panel. And then sort of the oddest presentation I went to were 3 people with very different backgrounds who were supposed to be talking on green building, but mostly talked about the definitions and uses of philanthropy. Leo Brito is the zero waste representative in Houston. He owns a composting company. And he talked a lot.
He was a guest speaker at one of our prior meetings.
I was thinking I would recognize the name, yeah.
He talked a lot about how people who work in the industries are different kind of philanthropists. And it was all very interesting. There were 3 really different perspectives, but they all sort of agreed with each other. So I enjoyed that too.
Excellent.
And none of them had to do with green buildings, which is the reason I went to the talk.
Yeah, that's the reason I went to.
And it was like nothing was said about green buildings, but Leo Bitro was very interesting.
Yeah.
He talked maybe half the time.
Oh, wow.
So
John Glover, did you want to add anything else?
Nope.
I mean, overall about it, I gave an inroads workshop, and it was particularly fun giving it there because I had CCL members in the audience rather than random people that don't already know a fair amount about this, and so it was an interactive audience and a lot of fun.
Very good. How was the attendance? Was it a decent attendance?
At the conference, I had about 30 people in the workshop.
Well, I'm referring to the overall conference.
Had 100, over 100, 120, 110, something like that.
That's very
About
good.
half of the people were less than 30 years old.
Hey,
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I'm not sure if Jenny is here with us today. Anything else on this or any other questions?
Thank you all for going.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, Judith, I'm going to skip down now to your lobby section. Let me go down there. Here we go. Anything you want to add here?
We have 3 positions still open. We will try to, Jenny and I will work to schedule meetings for those open ones and try and fill them up. The main thing that I want, if you go to the next screen, on this coming Monday at 7 p.m., we're going to have a liaison meeting where we're going to just review the meeting structure and roles and discuss what the primary and supporting asks are and answer anybody's questions. I put the Zoom invite there, but I'll also send the invitation out to all the liaisons later today.
Great. Thank you, Judith.
All right.
Any other questions for Judith before she drops off?
Well, I just have a plea. I'm having trouble getting District 7 people to respond and say that they will be available for the lobby meeting. We only got like one person saying they will. So
I should respond, huh?
are you in 7?
I am.
All right, I'm going to put your name on there. So that adds Dory.
hey, Judith, just a suggestion. You've got the 9th district on there, but it might be interested if you could somehow show people where the 10th district and the 36th district are, just so they can have some
Okay.
Oh,
kind of
Yeah,
idea
I need a new map. I've just been
yeah,
using
just so
that
they can know
same
that
one
near where
forever.
they is their district or not. You know, it's kind of
Okay.
hard. to do.
I think that's an old map. Thanks for pointing that out.
I think it is too. Now that I look at it, you're right.
I'm
Right.
District Sheila Jackson, so let me know.
So who was that?
That was-
Here, District 18, Sheila Jackson.
Okay. Lulu.
And Judith, I'm also in Texas 18. So when you're ready for that meeting, please let me
Right.
know.
Okay.
All right, Judith, anything else?
That's it. Thanks for letting me go first.
Yeah, thank you so much. And feel free to drop off. I'm going to go back up to the top. Okay, Dory.
Most all of you have this down pat, but it's just as helpful to be reminded that when you join CCL, you are a lobbyist just by adding your name number to the roster. But what I love about Citizens Climate Lobby is they really help you to become a good lobbyist, to speak out for the climate you love. And their community website has all kinds of help in trainings. And our goal is to create political will for a livable world. And we do that not only by the bill that Mark's going to talk about and understanding carbon pricing policies, but we keep doing as many ways as we can to move the ball forward. So, understanding that we need our sustainable forests, we need to transition, as Judith was talking about, to electrification, renewable power, and efficiency. And I thought it was really impactful the other month when we were focusing on some of our initiatives, that we need permanent reform because the fossil fuel industry has had for years and years, they've had efforts to streamline their permitting process, and we need to catch up. We need extra attention paid on the electrification permitting. So and we do it each month. We tell you about how we do it, but we do it by lobbying Congress, by reaching out to others like us to help them become lobbyists, by spreading the word through our media relations, through our engagement with people that can really make that change at the grass tops level. We do it by building our chapter, and we do it by science and sharing about our stories. And En-ROADS, as John did in his example at the conference, having a tool that just is an eye-opener and says, oh, you mean I can't just electrify all the cars, and I can't just do my efficiency and make my home better and recycle? No, we have to do more. We have to actually put a price on carbon. We have to let the capital market help us make the change. So that's my just real overview. And I also like the analogy that when we call our legislators, when we write to our legislators, when we write our letters to the editor, we are making that Grand Canyon one drop at a time. And that's our climate advocacy. More and more of us speaking out on behalf of the climate is making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Dory. Any questions for Dory on these topics? I didn't hear anyone with a question. I just want to jump in and talk a little bit more about the lobbying activity that we do. Really for the new people that have joined us who are not familiar really with what we're doing. But I want to mention that the lobbying that we do, which means that we're meeting with congressional representatives, both representatives in the House and senators, and sometimes, a lot of times, with their staff, right? They'll have a staff person that will meet with us that we can talk to, or we can explain what we're doing. Lobbying and meeting with these folks is one of the most critical things that we do, and that's really one of the main reasons why we exist as an organization. So, but when you hear that we're doing lobbying, that could sound like a scary kind of a thing, and it probably is, for new time people that have never done that before. But we do everything as a group, as a team. And so you're never going to be there by yourself. You're always going to be with a team. We do preparation work and planning prior to ever doing the meeting. We're very well organized. We assign roles and responsibilities for each person that wants to attend. The simplest thing for a new member is just to be a timekeeper and keep watch on the time so that we don't overrun the time. Another easy role is just to take notes. It can be as simple as that. But for folks that want to speak up and actually talk about certain topics that are in our agenda, more than welcome to do that as well. So it's a really good thing to do, and it's really kind of rewarding to participate in that. I'm going to move on. Mark.
All right. Well, as probably most people know, there was a very similar bill introduced last month, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, to the one that was introduced 2 years ago. So I could just say everything's pretty much the same as that bill, but I'll go ahead and go through the main parts of it here. It was introduced by Representative Carbajal from California, and I think the co-sponsor is Scott Peters, also a representative from California. When I was on the CCL call that described the bill, they said that they're not going to post co-sponsors because, as most of you know from last time, it was like 99% Democrats, and they want the bill to appear to be more bipartisan. So I don't know if they're going to follow through on that, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, they not just they're going to not post it, they told us not to go to any effort to get co-sponsored. They wanted the bill to be a safe place for Republicans and Democrats to say I'll co-sponsor in a nonpartisan way because climate is important. And if you stack up too many Democrats on it, then it makes it look partisan.
Are the two are they one's Republican, one's Democrat
No,
right now?
they're both Democrats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, John. Yeah, so the main, of course, the main goal of it is to reduce our carbon dioxide emissions. And if it's enacted, there would be a 50% reduction by 2030, which is only 7 years away. And on the call, they said if we don't put into effect this act, we're going to have a 40% reduction by 2030 just with whatever we have in place right now in our country. So this act would add another 10% reduction. And then I guess more importantly, by 2050, the target would be zero emissions. That is reachable if this act is enacted. And some of you may recognize the same price that's going to be put on carbon products as the last bill, which is $15 per metric ton of CO2 equivalent each year. That's going to be increased by $10 per CO2 equivalent. That's conditional on meeting the overall targets for the US. And if we're not meeting the target, they're going to increase it to $15 a year till we get in line with the targets.
Yeah, I think it's really sneaky and well done the way they do that. $15, it seems awfully low, and it's been criticized as too low a carbon price, but notice the effect that it has. $15 is low and makes it look like it's not so bad for the people that don't like the carbon price anyway. And it increases by $10 per year, and that linear increase in just 5 or 10 years, it's starting to really get up there. So it's surprising how fast it gets up. And additionally, the $10 per year, but it'd be $15 per year if we don't meet the reduction targets, and we probably almost certainly will not meet the reduction targets. And so you might as well just count on $15 a year. So it's really quite effective.
Thank you.
I like the carbon cash back wording that they're using for the dividend. I don't know. Almost everybody that I've heard talk about it this time around has been saying carbon cash back, and I think that has resonance for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tested by, the language was tested with, surveys and everything. So they say, we think we got it right. Carbon cash back is a good term to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for those of you who may not be familiar with how this works, all the money that's collected from companies that produce the carbon products goes into a big pot, and then they figure out how many families there are, households in the US that are eligible for that. So as long as they're US citizens or permanent residents, and then they'll just divide it among all those. And so a household might get $50 a month, for example. And they said that most low and middle income families would either break even or come out ahead in terms of their expenditures on carbon products that are the price of those will increase as the fee goes into effect. And then the last point that I'm going to make about the carbon border adjustment, it looks to me like it's pretty much the same it was previously 2 years ago. So what that means is any carbon producing company that exports their products, they're going to be charged this fee, but if they export the product, they're going to be given that fee back. And then if any companies from outside the US are importing in, if they've already paid a carbon fee in their country, Our government's gonna decide whether we're gonna waive our fee or partial fee or however they calculate what's fair. And that way, US companies will not be at a disadvantage with these other companies importing their products here. So there's 2 links up there if you want to learn more about this act.
Last thing I'd like to comment that the language to use on it is the Full Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act of 2023. If you want to shorten it up, they're asking now we're going to lose the term EICDA. EICDA was only known, it was like a magical term that only people in CCL could say, and then get it wrong. I've heard them say EIDCA or whatever. So don't use EICDA. If you want to use the shortened version of it, just simply call it the Energy Innovation Act.
Mark, anything else?
No.
Does anyone have any questions? Any questions for Mark? No questions? Okay, we're going to move on. Thank you, Mark. Okay, Mark. The mayoral candidates.
Yeah. So supposedly, as some of you may have heard, this is not on very many people's radar politically in terms of voting in the mayoral race that's coming up next month. So yeah, and even more under the radar in terms of any of these candidates speaking about climate. So of course, probably most of them would have a position about doing something to mitigate flooding in Houston, in which always the potential for that. But explicitly, I only found John Whitmire commenting on that. And that had to do with fixing our system for getting water out of the streets and into the bios. There's a very lesser known candidate, Mr. Hujami, who said he's focused on flood recovery and resilience. I could not find his website. This was a statement from a magazine article, Houston Landing, that said he's focused on that. MJ Khan also supposedly supports climate preparation, but when I looked on his website, I did not see anything about that. And he also, I also looked at what he said with the Houston Chronicle editorial board, and there were no questions about that. Any of the other candidates, I couldn't find anything. I was going to ask if anybody's lobbied Sheila Jackson Lee, if they know of what her position is on climate, because I know she's one of the candidates for mayor.
I'd like to hear that too. If anybody's lobbied Sheila Lee Jackson, how is she responding?
Catherine,
Yeah,
what
so
were you doing with that meeting?
Maybe we should try to make that meeting before the election.
I lobbied at her office probably 4 or 5 years ago, long time ago. And I don't recall any specific position mentioned, but she was, her legislative aide certainly was one of the most knowledgeable ones I've ever run into. She knew everything about CCL before we walked in the room. But I don't recall, and it's too long ago. I mean, I don't remember what I had for breakfast. So,
I remember some feedback I heard, I think, a couple of years ago about Sheila Jackson Lee. And the feedback that I think I heard was that because she is not directly on any of those committees that would be talking about climate in Congress, she was not actively involved in it. And she was mainly focused on her committee assignments that she was involved in. But the assumption was that she would have voted for the Energy Innovation Act if it came up for a vote.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and the last thing I'll mention, this article that I read talking about the candidates' overall positions on issues, it did cite an interesting survey that the Kinder Institute at Rice University did of Houston residents. And it found that over 70% were either concerned or very concerned about extreme weather, climate change, and its impacts. And by ethnic groups, you can see that non-Caucasians are actually more concerned, a little bit more concerned than Caucasians, which is good information. And yeah, that's one of the areas that I'm hoping we can do some grassroots work in, is those ethnic communities.
Mark, a couple
Yeah,
of
that's it. Unless people want to comment or ask
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, I've just a couple of comments. So MJ Khan, you may not recall, but he came and spoke to us at one of our previous steering committee meetings. And he actually is a very strong proponent of climate action, climate advocacy, even though perhaps he's not publicly stating that. And then my other question or comment was that because Houston, the city of Houston does have a climate action plan, which has been in place for several years now, have any of these candidates just, come out and, provided support for that or acknowledged that it exists, that they support it or anything like that?
Yeah, I was wondering that myself.
I talked to John Whitmire. We got to talk to John Whitmire when we did the Texas Lobby Day. And he asked us what our concerns were. And I told him that the city is one of the few places in Houston that, has a climate agenda, and that I hope that it would continue forward. And he assured us that it would, but that was when we were lobbying about climate. So I know that he's aware that there's a climate action plan, and that plan needs to continue forward.
But I might point out, I'm on her Sheila Jackson Lee's website now. In her list of issues, she does not list climate, but she does list energy. Says we're the energy capital of the world, and she says that we need to support moving toward energy independence, and that we should do it in an environmentally sound way. So there you go.
Thank you.
All the energy that you can possibly need in environmentally sound.
For free.
For free.
Feel free.
But
So
I might say, it bothers me when I hear that, but Lizzie Fletcher, she's my, I'm liaison to her. Look on her website, the list of issues, and I look for climate as one of the list of issues. It's not even listed neither in she's actually, but energy is there, same thing. And she says roughly the same stuff, that they basically don't want to commit toward making climate scary type of positions.
Right. But at the same time, I think that many of these folks are doing things behind the scenes. For example, going back to Lizzie Fletcher, I think it was last year or the year prior to that, where she was one of the sponsors, or maybe the key sponsor of the bill that was passed to help clean up abandoned oil wells. Remember that one? So that's just that alone is a major deal. I can't quite hear what somebody is saying. Mark, anything else on this, or should we move on?
Yeah, go ahead and move on.
Okay. Okay, we covered Judith's item here, and now we're in Let's see, I'm gonna have to mute Brandon.
No, it's Brandon. If you can mute Brandon.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Sorry, Brandon, we can't
Yeah.
hear you.
There you
Oop. Okay, Brandon is muted. Can you still hear me? Hello, everybody. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so this topic that I'm going to talk about now is called the CCL School Electrification Challenge. I call it a project, but they're calling it a challenge. So this is geared towards middle school and high school age students for them to take a leading role in this project. And basically, this is to try to get schools fully electrified, starting off with individual schools and trying to get an entire school district electrified. And because it's involving and primarily geared towards students, it's really kind of exciting. I'm going to go on to the next page where we get into the details. So again, they call this a challenge. The challenge to electrify everything in schools is a campaign of the National Youth Action Team of Citizens Climate Lobby. So it's one of our action teams. Again, here you see middle and high school age climate advocates using special powers as youth to address climate change through civic action. And why? So they presented this bullet point here that I was not aware of, and it's actually pretty fascinating. According to their calculations, it says that schools are one of the largest public sector consumers of energy, using the energy equivalent of 18 coal-fired power plants or the equivalent of 15 million cars each year. That's quite substantial. So this particular project consists of a student team with a minimum of 3 students. It requires 3 students to get that project kicked off in a particular school. Plus, it requires 1 adult advisor. And the plan is that once that team is established, it's a very structured program, which I think makes it easier for people to follow. It's kind of like a 10-step plan here. And so these are all the steps here, just in a simple bullet point, 1 through 10. Starting with step 1, learn more about the school electrification campaign. 2, form the school electrification team. Step 3, research your school board. Find out who is on your school board. Find out what opinions they may have and what their positions are. Step 4, develop your messaging. Step 5, draft a resolution to be able to present to the school board. Step 6, go ahead and present the resolution. Step 7, develop a relationship with the school board. That means having follow-up meetings with them, follow-up conversations, attending additional school board meetings. Step 8, build public support for your resolution in the local community. Step 9, be patient, be consistent, be persistent. And then step 10, have fun and celebrate when it's all completed. So it sounds really, really interesting. And here's more details. So I included some references and more information. Here's the web link for the CCL Youth Action webpage. We have more specific details about this program. There's a YouTube video. Here's a web page from Rewiring America with additional details. And now at the very bottom here, I want everyone here to take action. So first of all, does anyone here on the call have a child, nephew, niece, or grandchild who might be interested? If yes, give me a shout or drop me an email. We want to get them involved and get this going. Here's another take action step. For the adults here on this call, I'm wondering, does anyone here have an interest? Or do you know another adult who may be interested? And if yes, again, drop me a line. So for myself personally, I've already gotten involved in this and I've taken my own personal action. We do have a high school student, Chelsea, who's a volunteer member of CCL Houston. She's actually out in Katy. And so I communicated this to her. She got very excited about it. She found 2 other Katy High School students to form a team. And we're going to get going with this, with myself being the adult advisor for the Katy School District. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm going to pause here, see if anyone has any questions, or if you know anyone who might want to get started with this, let me know.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm currently in high school and I would like to do this, but I really don't know how to reach out to other people and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if there's like any advice to approaching this.
So who is speaking? Because I can't see. I'm presenting. Who is speaking,
Oh,
please?
sorry. This is Ptolemy,
Oh, okay. And
but
what school are you in?
I go to Blanton CTE High School in Aldine ISD.
All right. And so do you possibly know other students there that might be interested in working with you?
We're currently on break, but I was gonna try to contact some students that I know and pretty much ask around, but I just wanted advice in approaching this so that I don't go in head first.
Got it. So my advice is that you have to sort of take the first step here. Step one, which is learn more about the school electrification campaign so that you can actually explain to them what this is all about. And so my recommendation is to look at these web links. Earlier, when I started the meeting, I put the web link in the chat windows for all of these slides. And if you can get to that, open up the slides and come down to this page and start going through these web links so you can really learn more information about this.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And let me also put my email address in the chat. Well, it's actually here on the slide, if you can see that. This is Joe Garfunkel, and my email is joseph.garfunkel@gmail.com. If you want to just drop me a line after the meeting and I can start working with you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Any other questions from anyone?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna offer if Talani is able to find other students, I'd be willing to be the adult liaison.
Thank you, Mark. Yay.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark.
you.
That's wonderful. So it looks like we're in progress of maybe forming a second team. Excellent. Anybody else on the call know any other students who might be interested, or if any other adults here who would like to become an advisor?
Joe, up in the Woodlands, we just got a note from a high school student from John Cooper's school that we've reached out and are touching base with him, and he's got an active climate group in the school, and they're having an art contest ongoing right now, but we haven't really done our legwork on that yet in terms of making contact. We're in the process. Anyway, that's a possibility. This group might be interested, but so Bob Jones is the one calling that. We're contacting that school and that individual, so I'll let them know about this.
Oh, thank you so much, Roger. That's good news. Okay, I'm going to move on now. And let's see, we covered Judith's topic here. All right. So we've completed all of the presentation topics, and now we're into the rest of our meeting agenda here. And so on this slide, for everyone who's been here before, you know that we always remind everybody after the meeting to please participate in our monthly calling campaign. That means that by going to the web link that's on the slide here, cclusa.org/call, that'll take you to one of our web pages where it'll show you a script. The words, the sentences are already there as far as what we're asking people to say on the phone, and to call your representative that represents you in your district, and go ahead and leave a message. And then I always like to remind everybody that if you make your phone call over the weekend, their office is closed over the weekend. Nobody's going to pick up and speak to you. So it's it's a great time to just leave a message, and you don't have to bother speaking to anybody. All right, I'm going to move on. So here is an advertisement for our next CCL Cocktails and Conversations coming up on October 28th. Roger is actually the coordinator for this. I think this will be a really exciting session. You can see here in the slide, we have Texas A&M professor John Nielsen Gammon. And for those that don't know, he is our Texas state climatologist. So I'm planning to attend that, and I think that'll be a really interesting discussion. Roger, do you want to add anything about this?
Yeah, thanks for putting this slide in. He's going to talk about rainfall intensity in Texas and how that's changed, and whether we can I'm trying to remember the exact title, but it's going to be on how the change in the rainfall intensity with climate change in Texas. And what else? It's the 28th, like you have there, 4 to 5 o'clock. Hopefully we can get a really nice. He's been the Texas state climatologist since 2000. He was appointed by George Bush. So he's been there a long time. He does a nice job on his presentation. So just hopefully everybody can be there.
Thank you, Roger. I'm going to move on.
Roger,
And it's
hold on,
remote.
Courtney
Yes.
has a question.
Do y'all record these?
Yes, we do, except when I forget. So
Yeah, Court, actually, if you ever go out to our Third Coast website, all of the recordings that we have are all listed there, and everyone can go there and play them back. And we've had some really, really interesting meetings.
yeah, Chris, I would recommend. I mean, there've been several really good ones, but I think Chris Tomlinson's last month was really outstanding. So that's worth a listen if you haven't. If you know, it's always hard to go back and listen to something that happened before, but that was really good. And Jim Tucker, you had a question. What was it?
No, I just wanted, so this is remote, the
Yes, it's going to be right. It's a Zoom call, and I would have
Thanks.
sent out a save the date, but with as busy as Susan has been, she usually puts together the event and Eventbrite, so I expect to get that out early next week. So you'll have all the
So,
contact stuff.
In this case, we already have the Eventbrite created. I created it. Just
Oh,
as
you
a
did?
reminder. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I can proceed from there. I gave her some other stuff to use, but
Hopefully
yeah,
she's not creating a new one.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, I thought I'd put that in the email I sent to you.
I am way behind, most likely, so I'll find that, Joe.
Okay. Anything else about this before I move on? Okay, here we go. So we just completed our Third Coast Regional Conference last weekend, and now we have our CCL National Fall Conference coming up in November. That's November 4th through 5th. And this will be remote via Zoom. And there's a web link right there. Registration is open if anybody would like to register in advance. Okay, here's Mark. Actually, do you want to talk about this? And I'm not sure if Jenny is on the call with us.
Okay, yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed about this because I emailed the sponsor of this event like weeks ahead, and I never heard back until like a couple days before the 30th. So by that time, most people already have plans and it's hard to get volunteers. But Jenny came through at the last minute and showed up. She took our tabling materials, and she didn't get a count of number of people, and I don't think anybody signed up for our chapter, but she did have people stop by, and so we really appreciated her willingness to do that for us. As far as the event, the climate summit, it was a 2-day affair. On Friday, I think they had Chris Tomlinson again, among other peoples, and that seemed to be what Jenny told me, that was the main event. And then Saturday was a lot of different environmental groups. There wasn't really a focus, if I remember what she told me, on climate, but yeah, a lot of people potentially found out about our group. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. I was just noticing the way that she set up the table. I'm assuming that she set it up, or did someone else do that to help her?
I think she did.
The that kind of the backboard there where she attached various pieces of information, that was great. I've never seen anyone do that before.
Yeah.
And so again, for the new folks, I always like to point out things that we're doing. And so this is an example of a tabling event, which is part of our grassroots reach out just to ordinary people. And so we always ask for volunteers to man a table, staff a table, whenever opportunities come up. And so this was one of them. Thank you, Mark. Okay, here's another topic. This is actually a new topic here. And so what this is all about is that I'm looking for a volunteer to help coordinate fundraising for the CCL Houston chapter. As a nonprofit organization, which CCL is, the only way that we really get money coming in to help support some of our activities is through donations. And so it's kind of a job that I know that I'm not very good at and don't really have time. If anyone knows of anyone who has done fundraising before, who might be interested, please reach out to me. So we have various expenses here in the Houston chapter. For example, just sending out our monthly newsletter that's not free. We have to pay cost to get that sent out. Supplies for tabling. Sometimes we have to pay fees for having a table and so on, miscellaneous expenses like that. So if anyone might be interested or knows of someone who might be, please let me know. It'd be a huge help for us so we can keep doing all of the things that cost money. Does anybody know anybody before I go on? Okay, maybe not. Okay, moving on. Roger, this is the youth art contest that you mentioned earlier. And if you're familiar with this, maybe you want to talk to this slide.
I was out for a while, so I just became aware of this on Wednesday when we had our group meeting. But yeah, it's a group within John Cooper's school. I did open their website and just they're an active climate group within that school, and they have like 4 or so people on their, students from sophomores to a senior. But anyway, that's about all I know about them at this point. We're in the process of contacting them.
Okay. So the other additional details that I learned just actually yesterday, yesterday evening when Susan sent out an email to several of us. This is actually an art contest that's open to students ranging in age from the 1st grade to 12th grade. Mm-hmm. And the contest is not limited only to the Woodlands, but to any students in the region, in the Houston metropolitan area, or maybe even statewide. I'm not really sure. And so the topic is about climate. They call this Climate Champions Youth Art Contest. And the group is looking for people to submit art that'll be entered into the contest. And the deadline to get that submitted is November 1st. Again, I have a link here. If anyone might be interested or might know of others that might be interested, you can go to that link and get more details. And again, the deadline is November 1st. So I thought this is really great.
Joe, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I went on the website last night and I could have misread it, but I thought it was just for Woodlands. So did your email correspondence indicate that they're going to loosen that restriction and make it Greater Houston?
Yes. So the email that I got was from Susan Adams. She sent that directly to me, knowing that I'm the leader of the Houston chapter. And also CC'd on that was the actual leader, the student leader of that. I've forgotten his name. So he was very well aware that this was being communicated out now to the Houston chapter. And I replied back saying that, yeah, I'm glad to do this, and I'm adding this to the Houston chapter meeting agenda. And then I asked him in my same email, I said, once the contest is finished, please send me some images of the art that was selected. So they're very well aware this is now going out to the Houston population, at least members of CCL.
Hey,
Okay.
Joe.
Yeah.
There's up in the upper left corner, climate canaries. Do you know anything about that?
Not really. I know that that's the web page, but I don't exactly know about climate canaries.
I think that's what they named their group. That's the high school group's name. So, but yeah, I honestly I'd have to dig into this further.
Okay, so I'm going to move on. And now we go into our 5 lever status reports. Judith talked about lobbying already, so I'm going to keep going. This is her reminder that for the liaisons, she's scheduling a meeting for this Monday. Court, grass tops.
Hey, this is Court. So for those who are newer to the call, Grass Tops is one of our means of getting that political will that Dory talked about to, by using leaders or businesses in the community. And, so we ask for endorsements for a price on carbon from leaders or businesses. And alongside that, there are several smaller projects that can be used to help inform business and leaders about what we're doing in Citizens Climate Lobby. So the 3 current initiatives right now are trying to get those in academia to sign a statement for a price on carbon. There is a statewide action team for state representatives as a means of getting them informed and aware of different climate policies. And then also there's 3 different local areas that have some sort of funding or grant for their transportation to transition. And I'm trying to get a hold of those individuals so that we can be more informed about it, maybe end up writing a letter to the editor about it, because it made headlines last fall and it's not really been talked about since. So if there is a particular business set or leader type that you think might be of interest and might be like a good way to help get some endorsement to prices on carbon, I'd be happy to hear from you. You can email me. Feel free to ask questions right now too.
Does anybody have any questions for Court about grass tops activities? And so let me just mention again, really for the newer people, that the way that all of our CCL chapters are organized, that's the Houston chapter, Woodlands, all national CCL chapters, we're organized along 5 separate teams. Actually within CCL, we call them levers, but those are teams of groups of different people organized for specific actions. And so what we're going through right now is kind of like a status report of what each of the different teams is actively working on. We talked about the lobby team. We've already talked about the grassroots team. This is grass tops team. And so as we're going through these for the newer folks, if you find that any of these might be of interest for you, please let us know. And then the leader of that team can reach out to you and help you become more actively involved. So any questions from anybody for Court about the grass tops? Okay, I'm going to move on. Grassroots, Mark, here's some more for you.
Okay. We don't have anything currently lined up. So we're always open to suggestions. If you know of any events taking place, it could be a church, I don't know, festival, or any kind of event where environmental groups might be invited to table. And then sometimes schools like universities especially might have a climate event that we could set up a table, and as people are milling around and come by, yeah, it's a great opportunity to engage one-on-one with those individuals and just try to connect with them, basically see where they're at in terms of concern about our changing climate, and if they have any interest in what they can do about it, then we can certainly share what we're doing at our organization.
Okay, anything else, Mark?
And yeah, I'll just reiterate, I'm going to try to find some events or actually make contact with some organizations, either African American or Hispanic, and see if we could start doing either a presentation or tabling in those ethnic community type events.
That'd be great. And we do have copies of our tabling information in Spanish that we can hand out as well if we need those.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Mark?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now for the media team, that's myself. I'm the leader of this, Joe Garfunkel. One of the things that takes up actually most of my time is organizing and publishing the monthly newsletter every month. And so the most recent newsletter went out Monday of this week, October 9th. Hopefully everybody received that. If you're not receiving it, you may want to just drop me an email and I can try to find out why you're not getting it. Maybe it's in your spam folder. And so we try to keep that newsletter interesting, showing things of interest in the Houston area, as well as things that are nationwide or even international. There's also lots of events in there. You can just refer back to that to find out a lot of the things that we're doing. And then I heard on the call earlier at the start of the meeting that some folks are interested in submitting letters to the editor, and that's a key function of the media team. And for anyone who's doing that, I'm more than happy to help out with that in terms of reviewing what you're putting together, making suggestions, and so forth. Previously, when we had a larger media team, we kind of worked as a team on that, and we shared drafts of the letters to the editor. We passed that around to each other so we can all review and try to make suggestions to help improve it and make sure that it actually gets published. So if anybody is interested in that, just drop me an email again. This is Joe Garfunkel. Any questions about the media team? I also forgot to mention that we also try to stay active on social media, but I really have not had time for that recently. But we are out on Twitter, or rather, I should call that X now, the X. And Chelsea, our high school student, and Katie is helping to keep the Instagram account going forward. We're also on Facebook. So again, if anybody has an interest in helping out, just let me know. Okay, Dory?
This chapter development welcomes all to our chapter in Houston, and we email and encourage them to join our Slack channel and find a lever group that excites them to be part of, although they can do a little bit of everything. Just because you're not on the lobbying lever doesn't mean you're not a lobbyist, you are. And it's a great way to volunteer from home. So we could use 1 or 2 more people to help us, and I can provide training. So let me know if you're interested. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Dory. Any questions for Dory about chapter development? Okay, I'll move on. And so that's the end of our formal meeting. But we always like to have just kind of a roundtable, just informal discussion, feedback, if anyone would like to share anything or any comments on about the meeting we had today.
Hi, Jenny. We didn't know you were on.
Sorry, guys. I was at a park dedication ceremony and doing eclipse stuff with my son. So my there we go.
Thank you for tabling.
It was fun.
Were you on the call when we shared the slide on that, the photo?
No, but I think I saw it during the steering committee meeting. So
okay.
Yeah, because I think someone took the picture at the event, so it's the same one that I forwarded on to Mark Harrinan. So
right
now, was Judith on the call earlier? Was she able to talk about? She sent out an email on Tuesday about the upcoming national Zoom conference and then the scheduled meetings that the liaisons.
Yes, Judith was on the call and she covered that for us. She
awesome. Okay, thanks.
Oh, I just noticed also, Jana, looks like you had joined and wanted to welcome you to our meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to introduce
I have to thank Jenny for reminding me.
I was scrambling looking for the link, and so I texted her, and so she sent it to me.
So here's a quick tip for everybody. When you get the newsletter, we always include the web link for the Eventbrite invitation. And if you choose to click on the Eventbrite, then you'll get an automatic reminder 2 days before the meeting and a day before, and then on the day of the meeting, it'll be right in your inbox. So you don't have to scramble and look for the web link. It'll be right there.
And I have another question. Is there a way to put the link on CCL Community? Or do we ever put it on CCL Community?
So sometimes we've done that. I no longer have time to do that myself. If someone would like to volunteer, I can give instructions for that. Or you could wait for the newsletter to come out and you'll have that and you'll have the Eventbrite link.
Okay, anyway, thanks.
You're welcome. Any feedback from anybody? Just a quick roundtable.
Well, as a new member, I just want to say that I really appreciate that newsletter. That is dynamite. So
thank you.
informational and nice pictures.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, just to add, also as a new member, I'm just really glad, I'm just glad to see people approaching climate change so passionately, because I haven't seen any other organization do something like this.
Thank you, Talani, and thank you for joining us. Any other feedback from anybody? Okay, if not,
Jenny,
go ahead.
Oh, Mark has a.
Jenny, do you want to share your impressions of the conference or the tabling event that you did at the Environmental Summit?
Yeah, I guess I could do that. And I think Jana could also, Jana and I had attended the Friday CEC event at U of H downtown, which was an incredible event. So Saturday was the summit, and it was an all-day event. I couldn't go in the morning, but the keynote speaker, they were having some technical details, and but I will say the CEC event on Friday seemed to be better organized. The event on Saturday, while it was a good event, I kind of got the impression it was all over the map. There were a lot of nonprofits there, a lot of environmental groups that weren't necessarily focused on climate change. And there were a lot of nonprofits that weren't even environmental groups, like the I-45 corridor, or homeless people. And so that's what I like about CCL events. They seem to be very focused and very targeted. But it was a great way to, there were great people there. There was a woman there who has a startup company with Greentown Labs. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned that either, but Greentown Labs has an event coming up, I believe Wednesday, November the 1st. It's $100 to register. And I assume they're doing their event at their new facility in the Midtown area. But that's where a lot of new companies will present their opportunities. And I think CCL dovetails real well with startups like that, because especially with the energy innovation and carbon dividend bill, we're looking for market-based solutions to help tackle climate change. And so there's a lot of people out there. And one thing that I learned from John Glover's presentation in New Orleans is of all the scenarios when you're looking at ways to tackle climate change, that the Carbon Dividend Act is one of the best ways to do it, to encourage innovation while at the same time discouraging and somewhat penalizing fossil fuel production. But anyway, it was a good conference. I was kind of in and out. I set up the table and kind of didn't want to totally miss out on any speakers, but they just broke people up into small group discussions to discuss what they plan to do over the next year on goal setting for climate change. But I would say I preferred the $50 event on Friday, perhaps a little bit better. They had Chris Tomlinson speak, the sustainability officers, I think, from both City of Houston and Harris County, and maybe Jana could pitch in who else that she enjoyed listening to. So thank you.
So I will say that I think Chris Tomlinson is a rising star in the climate change movement. I mean, to me, he's always been a business columnist, right? And then he got tuned into the fact that, hey, there's something really bad going on with the climate, and he spoke out. And the topic of his book was, I mean, his talk at the keynote was from slavery to climate change. Similar myths that the two movements have used to defend slavery and then to defend the continuation of fossil fuel, both being economic. One of the wicked features of capitalism, and he wasn't, he didn't hesitate to talk about that. So he is just dynamite. Also, we have to keep in mind that the Citizens Environmental Coalition is a coalition. And the thing is, if you're concerned about birds and dirty water, you're probably concerned about climate change too. So there's a role for that coalition, and I'm really glad they exist. Also, of course, Citizens Climate Lobby, glad they exist. Each have a role to play.
Thank you, Jenna. That was really great feedback. Before I forget, I wanted to mention, Jenny, you had brought up about Greentown Labs. And a couple of years ago, when Greentown Labs first moved to Houston, we did get a guest speaker from Greentown Labs to come to one of our meetings, one of our regular monthly meetings. And that was a really interesting presentation they gave. So yeah, thank you for reminding us about them.
Getting close to peaking.
That's right. Okay.
If you care. Joe, I just wanted to add, especially for our newer members, to you've been hearing about conferences and meetings. So just a quick summary: in June, there's the National Conference for Citizens Climate Lobby that is in person and also a bit hybrid, but all CCL volunteers are welcome to, of course, go to DC, find travel to DC to attend and register for this conference. And then in November, they have this online virtual conference, they being Citizens Climate Lobby. And then we, Texas, are a part of the Third Coast. So there is a Third Coast conference that got re-kicked off that hadn't met since February of 2020, before we knew about COVID in the States. So that was held in New Orleans, and again, CCL volunteers are encouraged to find a way to go to that, and sometimes the location changes. It's been held in Austin and Houston and now New Orleans. So I'm hopeful that they'll do it again in 2024. And then a new type of conference was a focus on lobbying Texas representatives, and that was spring of 23. So anyways, if you're interested in lobbying or essentially attending seminars, CCL has a cycle more or less of different opportunities for that.
And Joe, one final, well, not final, but one additional thing that I guess was mentioned was the action teams. So because CCL, I mean, there's the local teams like this, regional teams, but then CCL itself has probably 60, 70 action teams. You can go to just your homepage on community and connect and look and see the action team directory. And I'm looking at it now, but there's if you have a business focus, there's a Team Oil that's one that's really good. If you're into getting more information about that, there's a nuclear team, a progressive team, conservative teams, and faith-based teams. So if anybody, and I more or less lead the Catholic Action Team, and we have a monthly meeting on the last Wednesday of the month. So if anybody has interest in that and wants more information, you can contact me. And we get a pretty good turnout, actually, about 15 to 20 people nationally. So and these action teams are also quite a bit, some are very, very active, some are not. So, but it's worth looking into them because there's a lot of really good information out there.
Thank you, Roger. And thank you, Corey, for talking about the different conferences. Before I forget, one of the things, hey, John, let me finish really quick if you don't mind, and then I'll let you go. Before I forget, and before everybody disappears, we always like to get a kind of a group photo. And so for those of you who would like to turn on your cameras and we can see your smiling faces, we always like to get one of those before we end.
Mine's not working. I've had PC.
Anybody else? Brandon, Lulu, Dan, Ginny, if you want to turn on your camera.
Mine's not working. I've had PC issues all week. Yeah. Working with
No
my
worries. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and take it now. Oops, I have something in my screen that has to go away. Okay, here we go. Let me just verify that it turned out. Oh, Lulu, you turned yours on, but I missed you. Let me try again, all right? Okay, here we go one more time. Okay, let me double check. Oh, geez, that didn't come out either. I'm gonna have to try one more time. Sorry about that. Here we go. Let me check. Okay, I got that one finally. All right, John, go ahead. You were talking about the eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're done. We're closing up shop here to go see the eclipse. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend.
Bye.